Hello, Sumo fans. I'm back. Hopefully everything is working. It's been a little while since I've done this, so there's always a little apprehension trying to get the technology to work. So, I think it's working. Everything looks good. You can let me know when you show up if it all sounds good. So, I chose good old Terutsuyoshi to be our main page right now because he did announce his retirement. One of the few pieces of bad news in Isegahama. Otherwise, Isegahama is doing pretty well. Unless you want to talk about, the impending Terunofuji retirement. But other than that, there's something quite special about Isegahama. So, here he is. The last time Terutsuyoshi will appear on 42 Opinions. And we will start with a little bit of Juryo. Just going to touch on what the records are. I haven't watched many of the matches. Not as into it this time around. Because we have a lot less of prospects that I'm familiar with. So we have Daishoho, who I am familiar with. Asakoryu, and of course Wakataka Kage, very familiar with. 8-2. Wakataka Kage had a hard loss today, but I'm sure he'll bounce back. 7-3, we have Mitoryu and Oshoma. Maybe one of the biggest surprises, and maybe not one of the biggest surprises, is that Haku Oho is nowhere near the picture for the playoff. I had envisioned when he came up to Juryo with Wakataka Kage that the two of them would be fighting it out at the end to see who was going to get the Juryo Yusho. Haku Oho doesn't look that great. Whether it is just the coming back from the surgery, coming back and trying to get in a top form in Juryo, that's one issue, combined with the whole situation going on and, his stable possibly being dissolved, not knowing who his coach is going to be, locked down in his stable. The guy's got a lot of things that are stressing him out right now. So we'll give him a pass and just pray and hope that the Haku Oho we saw before the surgery can come back. Because that's the Haku Oho that I was predicting to be Yokozuna. And, he's just going to zoom right back up. And now he's just one tournament. But there's just this risk of him being thrown into the dregs of sumo world, never to be spoken of again. Hope that doesn't happen. So out of Juryo, let's get into a couple of notes from the day. Then I'll talk about the main important matches, the whole Yusho situation, and then maybe a couple of fun little things to talk about. So, I already spoke about Terutsuyoshi retiring. Check that off. Takayasu Shonana Umi. So, a lot of people love Shonana Umi. He's been in some weird place for several tournaments in a row. It looks like he's finally back. He comes into the match today 7-2, keeping himself in the playoff conversation. Takayasu 6-3. He's on the outside, but decent record, cross your fingers kind of thing. And then Shonana Umi slips, and it sort of robbed us of a good match. I was looking forward to really seeing Takayasu and Shonana Umi go because he's such a big guy, and I really want to see his power tested while he's looking good. So it was kind of a shame, but we must move on from it, unfortunately. And right down at the lower rankings, we had like a potential, match of the tournament with Takerufuji and Onosato right there in the middle. And Takerufuji surprised me, and he probably shouldn't have. Because the truth is, there is something about Isegahama. It could be the number of talented wrestlers they have. It could be a combination of that with their coach knows what he's doing. But certainly there's no lack of training partners in Isegahama. So he looks like the smaller guy in stature. However, you can see how muscular he is, which is kind of a thing in that stable. I mean, these are all very upper body strong guys in that stable. Some of them are a little bit smaller, but they're muscular. Some of them are massive, like Terunofuji. Takerufuji looks great. Onosato probably kicking himself over that match. I think he could have made it more competitive than he did, but Takerufuji got him on the tachi. He was just so quick. He got the advantage so fast that Onosato didn't know it hit him. So I know he'd like to have that match back. Unfortunately, he can't have it back. I'm gonna go back to talking about the implications of this when I talk about the Yusho picture, because obviously he's the top guy. Everyone's chasing him. So I'm going to come back to him. Another note, nice match between Asanoyama and Meisei. In a way, not surprising. Asanoyama and Meisei have fought each other 12 times, so they're very familiar. I think what's happening to Asanoyama right now is that any of the guys he's not super familiar with, he's struggling with. He's two in his head. A lot of guys have passed him by since he was last Ozeki. He missed out on that opportunity to fight tons of guys. So almost everybody's like newer to him than they should be. So it was nice to see him in his comfort zone. Nice back and forth match. Enjoyed it. Asanoyama wins. Not too surprising. This is somewhat of a highlight for me, though neither of the fighters was I too thrilled to watch. But so you have Abi versus Mitake Yumi, and Abi tries a really blatant, like kind of sloppy henka, and Mitake Yumi embarrassed him. Whoa, those are my favorites when they just get caught like that and just punished. And you know, we haven't seen a lot of henkas since the infamous Takakeisho henka. Like, I think everybody got a little bit, shy about doing it because there was such an outcry that it's like, let's just chill. Let's not do it. So it was almost, there was a point where henkas were just so common that I was like, okay, when's the henka coming? I was actually surprised when Abi henka'd. So I'm glad that we got to that place. Almost Ashitori leg pick for Ura. I guess he let go at the edge, so it technically didn't count as an Ashitori. But one thing I'll say about Ura is you just never know what he's going to do. Never, never, never. I enjoy Ura. I'm glad that he's keeping himself. He's 5-5. He's really keeping up with the competition. He's not dominating them, but he's hanging in there. So, Ura's a little bit more talented than he might give himself credit for. Awesome match between Hiraumi and Kirishima. This is what I think a lot of people have wanted to see from Hiraumi, that he's got all this going for him, and the results were not showing. Now, Kirishima's in a bad place. Bad place. Lots going on. Stable Master's retiring. He took his name. He was hoping to be Yokozuna at this point. What a massive, massive letdown for him that is hard to overcome. Just your heart is just, crushed. And then he's got the fact that he's going to get a new coach and he has to move. And, there's just so much going on for him. He's just kind of struggling to hold on for dear life. I really hope former Kirishima was not commenting in the booth at the moment of that match. That could have contributed as well. I know he was in there commentating, but they don't always show up for the whole thing, so I'm not sure at what point he was in and out. Kotonowaka is looking pretty dominant. I'm impressed by this because I didn't have a lot of faith in him, and maybe that's just the past history of you get these new Ozekis and they just crash and burn right away, or they get injured. That would be the case with Takakeisho. Kotonowaka looks like he's been Ozeki a lot longer than he has been. This is a good sign. And he's in the Yusho situation. We'll get to that more specifically. But he's starting to fight like his body dictates that they should fight. And I'm glad to see it. And I hope that he keeps himself in this. I don't know if I'm rooting for him to win, But, I mean, if he did, here you have a Shinozeki, wins the Yusho, and then goes on a Yokozuna run right away. Pretty cool stuff. So, we shall see. Now, for the heartbreak for me, Daisho beats Takakeisho on the edge. It was interesting because I think he surprised Takakeisho quite a bit with that. He sort of forearmed him to the back of the neck and just at the right perfect timing. And Daisho would understand, how to pull this off because he loses matches like that consistently. Right on the edge, going full force. He's finally found a way to use that against Takakeisho. He got all bloodied for his effort. But now Takakeisho, he's stuck at 7. He's got Murderer's Row for the next 5. Not necessarily the end of the world. Takakeisho could beat any single one of them at any point. The question is, will he? Especially now when all the matches matter so much. So I'm hoping he either takes advantage of Kirishima or takes advantage of Onosato. We'll get more into that as well as we get a little bit closer. Then we got to talk about Hoshoryu, who pulled, as they say, the Mongolian Henka, the perfect shift to the side, grab, and throw, aided a little bit by a slip. And we haven't seen that in a while, and possibly this is the thing to fire Hoshoryu up and get him going. I don't think anybody's going to be too up in arms about it because it was a very slick move. If you weren't really watching too close, you would have missed the shift. I mean, that was just quick. So, those were sort of the matches of note. I do see all of these comments. I'm going to get to them as soon as I go over what the Yusho situation looks like, the matches for tomorrow, and then I will read all of these great comments that I see here. So tomorrow we have a match I have been looking forward to. Takerufuji versus Kotonowaka. So here is Kotonowaka's chance to show, he's got the big body, he's strong, and he's got the technique. He needs to be the guy right now if he wants to prove himself. Takerufuji, like I said, he's one strong dude. I mean, you can see muscles on top of muscles on him. And I think that's why he looks a little smaller to me than Onosato. It's just because he's more muscular, but he's actually a big guy. He's definitely a big guy, but he looks a little smaller. He's almost like a mid-ground between Terunofuji and the small guys. He's like the mid-sized guy, but he's actually more skewed towards a bigger guy. He just doesn't always appear that way. Now, Kotonowaka should have the edge in terms of experience. He's got a lot that he's fighting for. He has more to lose, I think, than Takerufuji, because, I mean, this is his first tournament. Sure, it'd be great and exciting, and he's running on adrenaline, but Kotonowaka has to prove himself. It's going to be a great match. The one thing that I will speak of is that the 10-0 is almost like a cursed number for brand new guys. This is the make or break. If he wins tomorrow, I think he's got a really good shot to win the whole thing. But this is the point where many guys lose the next 5. And he would have the type of opponents where that's also very possible. So we'll keep an eye on it. Tomorrow means a lot for Takerufuji's tournament. We will see what happens. I mean, Kotonowaka is the next closest with 2 behind, and we're almost done. So tomorrow is a big day. And speaking of 8-2, actually 8-3 now, Onosato fighting to keep his spot will go up against Takakeisho. Now that match is going to be a very interesting match because Takakeisho fighting Onosato, there's going to be an element like fighting Ichinojo. You just got this massive chest that Takakeisho has to overcome and avoid using the neck in any way to do it. So he's going to have to put his arms out. And Onosato can do all kinds of stuff if he does that. But Onosato's brand new, nervous, going to be fighting the Ozeki. Takakeisho should take advantage of that. But it's just going to be a question of, is Takakeisho skilled? I don't want to say skilled. Is Takakeisho in good enough shape to do what he needs to do? And or is Onosato going to wake up and be the monster that he is? Or is he going to be the guy who's green? So, this will be an interesting match. I hope Takakeisho takes it. Nothing against Onosato. It'd be very cool to see him in the Yusho race. But Kadoban here. Kadoban here. And I will say for Takakeisho, he's surprised me, even though he also shouldn't have surprised me. The man is just, he doesn't care how hurt he is. He doesn't care what odds are against him. He just thinks about winning. And he wins in situations where a lot of people have not. They lose the rank. They're out. They're done. They're hurt. They might have to retire. And this guy's like, no, I want to be Ozeki. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. So he impresses me constantly. It's not just my fangirl bias. He's just one tough dude. He can go through things that a lot of people can't. It's amazing. I see a comment that I have to read now because it's so true. Bob Gob says, Kadoban is like Super Saiyan for Takakeisho. Yes. It's like, oh, Kadoban, all right, let me just power up. Like, he's acting, some of his aggression is like back, and it was completely zapped in the last tournament. I don't ever know what to expect from him. But I'll say this, I want the 8 sooner than later, because if it all starts falling apart, we just take a long sigh, and we live to fight another day. Hello, Tulio. It has been a while. Good to see you. I'm going backwards to comments now, but I thought I would say, hey, what's up? So, I'm going to read all the comments, go back up to the top, and then I'm going to ask you guys some questions. Monster says, Mitorio and Oshoma have been much stronger than usual this Basho. Well-earned promotion. Mitorio also won a nail biter yesterday. That was a good one. Well, Mitorio's, he's got some experience battling around in this area, so it's good to see him actually rise to the occasion. I mean, they aren't promoted yet, but they are in a much better position than anyone else at this point. Jurio's looking a little bit thinner than it has been. Most of the guys who are like really exciting and good, with the exception of Wakatake Kage and Hakuoho, have already come up. And some might be coming back down, some might stay. Shonan Umi fights Abi next. I think who wins depends on if Abi A or Abi B shows up. Because Abi B showed up today, I wouldn't be shocked if Abi B shows up tomorrow, because I think Abi's elbows are messed up. This is the thing about Abi is he has such an aggressive style, but it's wearing and tearing on him, and I think that's when Abi B shows up the most. Bob Gob says Takerufuji is huge except his calves. Maybe it's that too, like maybe because he has smaller legs. It's like it's funny because I'm looking at him and I'm watching him about to fight Onosato, and I'm trying to figure out if he's small or big. And it's my brain was not computing this. I'm like, he kind of looks small, but like if I'm really looking at his midsection, he's huge. But Onosato he looks so tall and so he's just big going upwards. He just looks bigger. They might even be similar in size for all I know. Excuse me. Hello, Mitch. Glad you're here. I'm sure there'll be some Tobizaru comments around here. Excuse me. Spanky here. Man, I'm salty at this point of the Basho, but I'll wait until we have discussion time. I must know what you're salty about, Spanky. I'm sure you will tell me as we get down further. And then Mitch comments, and then Hoshiryu said to hold his beer. Yeah, Hoshiryu wanted to show Abi how it's done. Perhaps it was a moment of inspiration. Monster says, I'm salty too. I can't stand Takerufuji and Onosato. You can't? They're brand new. How could you even have an opinion that strong already? Haba Gab says, yes, Hiromi. I was excited for his and Tsurugisho's highest rank, but yeah, poor Tsurugisho, just really, his brain was working on overdrive compared to his body. And he just sort of forgot, hey, I'm only fighting on one leg. Mitch says, I should get a call to do an R-rated live commentary. Then it would get shut down. So just keep that in mind. Yes, I'm going through cold stuff again. Must be that spring thing. Monster says, save me, Kotonowaka. I'm guessing that's because you would like him to win versus the other two since you are hating on them. Bob Cobb says, Takakeisho's neck has been... Hold on, I just lost it. I don't know why the comments just did that. Takakeisho's neck has been stressed a lot this Basho. People keep trying to slap him down or Nodowa. Yeah, those Nodowas were making me real nervous. I'm like, oh man. If he survives Sumo without needing some sort of walking assistance, that will be a very good thing. He makes me extremely nervous. Like, I'm so excited to see him and watch him do sumo, and I want him to do sumo forever. And then I think, please don't wind up in a wheelchair. Like, get out of sumo alive. Please. Ugh. Mitch says, Koto may be screwed since I picked him in ISP tonight. Yeah. I picked him too, and since we're both really bad at ISP this time around, we might have put the jinx on. I don't know. Monster says, there's a good chance one of the 3 lost guys could win this too. Don't be surprised if Takakeisho or Hoshoryu sneak up on the cup. I would not be surprised by that, particularly because Hoshoryu is very driven. So he's not going to give up at all. The only reason he wasn't more involved last time is because he hurt his knee right at the end. Takakeisho is always capable of winning a cup, especially if you don't have the old Terunofuji. It's really a shame that the both of them got injured in the ways that they did, because I wanted to see more battles of Takakeisho and Terunofuji at the end, with them both being much healthier than they are. We only got like a couple of tournaments of it, and it was magic. It was so awesome, because you really didn't know who was going to win, because you knew Terunofuji just had all the technique, and if he got the grab on Takakeisho, he was done. But you knew Takakeisho had such a powerful tachi that just a couple of slaps and he was going to push Teru out, particularly with the knees. So it was actually a matchup that you didn't know, and we didn't get too much of it. Monster said Tobizaru was out with a single day with the stomach flu. It's Mitch's curse. Absolutely, it's Mitch's curse. I don't know how you stay out for only one day. There's been a lot of stomach flus out there, and they last for 12 hours, and you can't eat or drink for that whole 12 hours. You're just throwing up for 12 hours. Then you got to get your energy back. So I bet you Tobizaru is going to come back rough. I also tell you that if he has a stomach flu, watch out for everybody else getting that stomach flu. It's highly contagious. Oh, it could be a disaster if, like, Kotonowaka gets the stomach flu, you know? Ugh. The stomach flu is, like, worse than a lot of illnesses. I'm telling you. Bob Gobb says, I remember when Midori Fuji started 10-0, then lost 5 straight. He's the one I think about constantly in this scenario, but he's definitely not the only one. Mitch says, I'm kind of mixed on Tobizaru's one-day Kyujo. Sort of wanted to see him crap himself in the dohyo. I fight in a dojo. Mitch, your hater ways are not appreciated. I'll tell you that, because I told you, if he has the stomach flu, and who did he fight last? That person's probably getting the stomach flu. So you don't want any of this. You want Tobizaru far away from everybody. Maybe Pepto should see about becoming a sponsor. Pepto's not going to help you with the stomach flu. Hoping for some good old Takakeisho craftiness and timing. I have enjoyed Takakeisho's, just his thinking process. You can see it now. He can't rely on blasting people out. So he's kind of got to time it like, here's a face slap. Here's a couple pushes. Let me try the parry. If that doesn't work, let me, stick. He tried to stick to Daisho today like glue. And Daisho, he took advantage of that. Could be good for Takakeisho later on because he could be weary of someone else doing that to him. And I already read how Bob Gobb's comment about Kataban is like Super Saiyan for Takakeisho. 100% agree. Once again, hello, Tulio. I don't agree with the Abi AB narrative. He's the same situation, is more nuanced. That's fair. I'll just put it this way. It feels like Abi A and Abi B. Maybe it is all the same, but it depends on who he's fighting. But it feels Like, which plan are we going to get today? Let's see. Monster. Those two remind me a lot of Onosho, with them relying on a lot of Tachiai, but their names aren't funny. Onosho has a very unfortunate name. Although in Japanese, no. But like in English, it's like, oh no. Mitch says, I should do a voice call on Discord one day. I'll do live commentary and see what happens. Yeah, that would be very interesting. We would all have to watch it and see what you have to say. As I told you guys in the community tab, I've been invited to go to Salt City Sumo's page and do live commentary at 3 o'clock in the morning. I hope it's fun. But, I have no idea. Never done live commentary before. And usually when I'm watching matches, I'm freaking out. And so I'm like, I don't know, I might be embarrassing. Like today when I was watching Takakeisho and Daisho, I might have said some choice words. And I really wouldn't want to do that on a live commentary. So we'll see. It could be really fun or it could be a complete disaster. Spanky says, now that we're in discussion, I'm salty because of what in the blue hell has happened to the evil nephew. Has he developed some kind of midget phobia or allergy? So, are you just talking about... Clarify to me what you're worried about. And then I'll comment. Tulio, well, if you're going with stomach flu, you better use your brown moashi. Truth be told, maybe they should all switch to brown. I'm telling you, those stomach flus are so contagious. This could be such a disaster. Please, guys, don't get it. I'm going to be royally, royally angry if it's like, oh, Takerufuji got it. Onosato got it. Hoshoryu got it. Tamawashi wins by default. Because he's immune to all illness. He'll be fine. Mitch says, Tobizaru's brother Hideomi also had a one-day Kyujo due to the poops. I think it was due to some bad veggies or something. That's what he thought, but that's what people with the stomach flu always think. They want to think positively, like, oh, no, it's not an illness. It's what I ate. They always think that. I'm telling you. Oh, so Ryuden is good if he gets the poops. Yeah. There's a couple guys that aren't having any bearing in here, and Ryuden's already set with the Moashi, so yeah, he'll be fine. Monster, speaking of Kyujo, it's horrible what happened to Shimazumi, taken all too soon. I didn't follow that enough. Exactly what was the injury? Like, is he, like, obliterated, like, not going to be able to come back, or are you just saying he'll get demoted? Spanky says, talking about his 3 losses to small guys, he should dominate with ease. Particularly, I thought that's what you were talking about. I just want to make sure. I don't want to say a bunch of stuff and you're like, what are you talking about? The Katatsukashi against Midori Fuji, I mean, my goodness. He even had to laugh and smile because he knew. I don't know. I mean, I think Hoshuri's in a little bit of a, teeter-totter. He's a very passionate, focused guy who just wants to win. And sometimes, like, that exuberance, I think it hurts him. He's, like, got to contain it. So we'll see what happens. I mean, this is all a part. If he wants to be Yokozuna someday, he really, really needs to tighten up. He can't lose some of the matches that he loses. Hoshoryu isn't the largest himself, especially for Inzeki. No, he's not. But Hadama Fuji wasn't that big. Kakuryu was definitely bigger. And Hadama Fuji was probably bigger than Hoshoryu, but not by much. So it's possible to be, his size and be a good Ozeki. But, I mean, he's got to tighten up. He can't make the mistakes he makes. He's got to, like, calm himself down or something. Mitch says, remember certain words are only dirty in some aspects. I like to think of them as sentence enhancers. Well, true. But, I try to keep it clean. I try to keep all those spontaneous reactions away from the public. Like when I was watching Takakeisho Daisho, there might have been some broken furniture around, Tulio, how about Terutsushi's future? Will he have access to Elder Stock? Have no idea. Probably not, but then again, I don't know. Some guys have access to Elder Stock that you're like, how did he get it? Who did he know? Who did he pay? I know that Teruyoshi loves reptiles, so maybe his future is not in sumo and it's keeping exotic animals. But yeah, it's unfortunate. You get diabetes. It's really, really hard to be a sumo wrestler. And that's particularly why, Terufuji's story is so impressive. Because he's somehow surviving sumo as large as he is with diabetes, cellulitis, several injured body parts. It's really, I'm sure that Teruyoshi is not the first guy who had to quit because of diabetes. Monster says, I don't actually know, but it's still a sad situation. This must be Shimazumi. Teruyoshi will be working at the reptile sanctuary full time. He probably will. Like, it's a love for him. And then Mitch says, sounds like Teruyoshi does not have stock and is leaving. Did you get like a transcript of his farewell retirement speech? Is that out there anywhere? I'd love to hear that if that is out there somewhere. Habob Gob says, hopefully Teruyoshi will keep making appearances on Doitsuke Sumo Salon. He probably will. He's got the personality for it. They love the big, flashy personalities on that show. Mitch says, also, Tamawashi has gotten his Japanese citizenship, so he'll be in the hunt for a Kabu. Man. Does anybody have feelings as far as, like, do they really need to restrict Kabu so much? Like, is it really necessary, like, to get the highest quality, stable masters? Do you think they could open it up a little bit more? Because, I mean, these guys, especially someone like Tamawashi, they leave their home countries, they come here, they give up everything. And then if they can't secure a Kabu, they're just done. There should be, if you're not going to let them be elders, there should be some other thing you can do to stay in sumo if you've given your whole life to it. But what do I know? I was wanting to talk about Tamawashi too. We're sitting there waiting. I mean, Tamawashi, when he finally retires, it's going to be out of the blue. Because he never looks hurt or anything, and you're going to forget, like, he's 40 this year. Like, how long can he possibly go? He might just wake up one day and be like, I've done it all. I'm done. Or he might have a specific time in mind, and we're not going to know about it. Spanky says, the great Yokozuna Chiyonofuji wasn't big, but kicked a lot of behind. Hoshoryu needs to get an Asashoryu level case of his ass and stop playing around. Yeah, like, a lot of people get salty about Asashoryu, like, hammering Hoshoryu. I think he should. I mean, this is such a touchy topic, right? There's no reason to be bullying or too hard on someone, but then there's just being too easy. Hoshoryu is just... He's got great talent and great potential, but he just can't seem to put it all together and be consistent enough in the big moments. It's not consistent overall. The big moments. Those are the ones that matter for becoming Yokozuna. Monster says, he was looking so bad at first and it's still looking touch and go, but Tamawashi is getting through it okay. Yeah, he's just when you think the man is down, he rises from the ashes again and just looks like he, is 5 years younger. The man is like amazing. He's definitely drinking from the fountain of youth. Mitch says, sometimes when it comes to elder stocks, it's not how much you pay, but who you get giggity with. There are all sorts of things. There's a million different ways to get what you want. I'll say that. Monster says he looks kind of hurt this tournament. Hoshoryu? Tulio says, I'm really sad that I don't see the same explosiveness of Uncle Asa and nephew. I think this is just an example of the differing generations. Asa Shoryu would have come up in a time where you are getting beat up in your stable, which we've talked about, the badness of that. I'm not endorsing that, condoning that, saying we should have that. But that made Asashoryu one tough dude. Hoshoryu is not going through the same level. And in general, all of his peers are not going through the same level of training. COVID screwed a lot of stuff up too. They basically lost 3 years of real training. So this whole generation is almost like nowhere near in the same type of shape They've lost time. You can't get time back. But he tries. He tries to have the explosiveness of his uncle. But he's never going to be him. So hopefully he can use what he has and just put it together. Because also, you're not fighting the same quality of fighters that Asashiryu was fighting either. Mitch says, I think you leave the system alone. Part of it is a money thing since all of the elders get paid. Might be hard to pay another 30 to 40 elders. That's a very good point, which is why I asked the question versus giving an actual opinion of what I think. There's not enough money to go around to everybody. But maybe there could be sumo jobs. Just like if you want to be in sumo, here's some careers you could do. But I don't know. Monster says, Ura is doing way better than my expectations. Hometown power-up is real. It's definitely real for him. He really likes to entertain. That's what it is about Ura. He's an entertainer who happens to be very, very good at sumo. And he definitely, he was fighting Takekeisho when he was a kid. He was fighting with Gonoyama when he was a kid. He said in interviews that he doesn't plan his matches. He just, lets the inspiration come. That's the true mark of, some guy who's having a blast. And so, of course, if he hears the crowd pumped up, it just gives him more everything. He's just so extra, and I love it. Ura hype is real. 100%. Monster says, no, Tamawashi looks hurt. Well, I'd be shocked if he wasn't. He got injured several tournaments ago, and with his age, it just takes so long to recover. He's probably in a perpetual state of pain. Mace, I like the Ura leg pick, a tribute to Yoshi. I feel like he did that on purpose, too. I feel like that was his inspiration. That is the kind of thing that Ura would do. Hey, man, I'm going to do this for you. It was cool. I liked it. Mitch says, that's why Shima Naomi having a stock already bugs me. It's only because he married the prior stockholder's daughter. Yeah, this is... What's interesting about this, though, is elder stock is kind of like how things used to be way back in traditional times, the feudal system. And that's basically, sumo's origins. Might be before the feudal system, but sumo's origins are of a very traditional stock. So what did you do back in feudal times? You had land, you had, some sort of animal, some sort of skill, or you married somebody. So it is very annoying, but it makes sense in such a traditional sport that would be a way to do it. Monster says, Hoshiryu is like the arrogant prodigy rival that eventually becomes the best friends of the protagonist. He really is. He's definitely a walking anime character. Tulio says, Ura represents to me all that I love about sumo technique. Agreed. Ura's just amazing. Like I said, he's Gumby. Here's a man with two very severely compromised knees. And whenever you see Terunofuji do the wrong thing, you're you hold your breath because you're this is the time. Ura can bend his knee behind his ear and then bounce back up like nothing happened. This is an amazing thing about him. And meanwhile, he's smiling, he's playing to the crowd, and even when he gets thrown out into the front row, everyone's, they're a little afraid at first, but then all the audience is patting him on the back and probably, hey, can I take a quick selfie? So Ura I want him to stay forever. Mace says, Hoshiryu practically teleported behind Wakamoto Haru too. That was the fastest move I've ever seen. When I first saw it, the only reason I knew there was a shift was because I've seen Hoshiryu pull this move before. It wasn't because I actually detected it with my eye. It was just whoop. So if he didn't have that slick move that you already know, you'd be like, what happened? What in the world happened? So, kudos. It was very, very well executed. Can't have any problems with it. Mitch says there are 2 positions in the JSA for former Rikishi who didn't get a stock. Okay, I gotta get in closer because we have a black background with white text. The Waka Imonogashira and the other one that I'm trying to find the name of, The Seiwanin is the other one. So what are these positions? DBZ teleportation technique. It really was like that. And you know what would be cool is if somebody did a meme of this. I mean, Hoshiryu needs to like transform into a Super Saiyan or something. And like be doing it to Boo or something. I don't know. It was slick. Put a little bit of background noise in there, a little bit of the energy waves. Amazing. Monster says, we got to talk about Shodai 5-5 from double digits. Is so disappointing, but so Shodai of him to do. And Tulio confirms with Shodai keeps proving me right. LOL. Yeah, I mean, what can I say about Shodai? What can I seriously say about Shodai? The only thing I can say is like he had a moment. Well, all right, let's go into technique first. Let's talk about technique and then we can talk about the man. When Shodai was younger and stronger, and I know he's not that much older, but it's been a couple years since he's been Ozeki. He could take the full absorption of anybody's Tachi, and that's why he won matches. However, the more times this happens to you, the more damage you're going to sustain. So he really got used to that whole, plow into me like a car. Now, I watched the video where they showed Hakuho doing a full-on Tachi against like a pressure machine. And it was the force of like a truck going 35 miles an hour and hitting a brick wall. So here's Shodai allowing people to hit him like that. And that is his Tachi. That is his way of doing things. So this man has been basically in a car accident hundreds of times for several years. I think he's probably got a lot of pain. He's probably racked with pain from that. Combined with the whole Ozeki high, getting up to Ozeki, and then the pressure being way too much, and then dropping out. And so I think there's a physical, there's a mental, there's certainly a mental. But you ask yourself, does he even want to do this? Is he like the state worker who's like, well, I got 20 years in, and if I just work another 15, I'll get a pension. And that's why I'm still doing this. That's what it feels like. But I have no idea. Shodai's a mystery. Bob Gob says, I did not see Takayumi outperforming Shodai. Takayumi, like the other side of the coin. Here's a guy who was just career Sanyaku forever. It was only a matter of time before he beat Ozeki. He finally gets Ozeki, and it just all falls apart. And then he just fights like some like ghost of Takayumi for over a year. And now all of a sudden he's back to fighting good, and it's like what's happening? But not every match either. One match he's blasting you out and you're rolling like a ball, and the next match somebody walks him out. So I just don't know. Takayumi and Shodai are the most confounding individuals in sumo. Monster says, Shodai has a very favorable matchup with Midori Fuji tomorrow, so I got to get the topic in now while he's 50-50. Well, I guess that's a tough match because Shodai is the type who I don't see you doing the Katatsukashi on. I just don't see that happening. And he's big enough that he could just flick Midori Fuji right out of the ring. So I could see that happening, but it's Shodai, so who knows? Stu says, Shodai always has that depressed look on his face. Yes, we affectionately call Shodai Eeyore on this channel because that is Shodai. Mitch says, Waka Imono Gashira work with the new recruits of the Ichiman and run the Maizumo matches. Seiwanin do random stuff around stables. I think there are only a set of number of these as well. That whole set number might have something to do with it. Or, maybe a sumo wrestler feels a little bit like it's beneath them. Monster says, what is a Shodai? A miserable little pile of secrets? Yes. Tulio says, one trick pony. I never wanted to believe it myself, but time is inevitable. I'm sure you're still talking about Shodai there. Are you still talking about Shodai when you say one trick pony? What Shodai's secret was is he could absorb your Tachi. And then from there, you're just standing there like, uh-oh. And then he could do any number of things to you at that point. Most matches are won on the Tachi. So if you've got your thing, like absorption, or in Takakisho's case, before he broke his neck, the complete blast out of a cannon, you're going to win most matches. Yes, Tulio, you were not a fan of Shodai for quite some time because of that. I do recall. And you were correct. Shodai just showed up briefly in time as a strong contender, and then he was just out. He was outed for masquerading as an Ozeki. Monster says, Mitaki Yumi, I can't yet believe he's back to normal. I'm still expecting things to crumble next basho for him, sadly. I don't know that we'll ever see Mitaki Yumi the way he was in that period of time. That was probably the best period of his sumo life. And the truth is, for most of these guys, everything in life, but sumo in particular, very, very, you have hot moments and cold moments, and time is everything, right? You've got to get where you need to get as quick as you possibly can because there's so many different ways for things to go wrong. Injury, mental lapses, stuff happening in your stable, bad luck, any COVID stuff, like anybody before COVID, they didn't have the same challenges the people after. And then each year you get a little bit older, and each year you take a little bit more damage, and you're just not the same as you were the year before. So once certain guys get to a point, it's a miracle if they do anything else beyond that. And the couple examples you can look at is Terunofuji. He was always very gifted physically. That's the reason that he was able to bounce back the way he did. He's a once-in-a-lifetime talent, just like Hakuho. I think if he didn't have so many injuries and illnesses, he probably could have really done some stuff in sumo. Like if he had really. So Tochinoshin, same thing. Tochinoshin made a miracle comeback. Ura made a miracle comeback. This is less than a handful of people. So I don't expect Mitaki Yumi to be Ozeki level again. Just look at Takayasu, for example. Look at how hard that guy tries. Look at how many times he's come close to a Yusho. And next thing you know, he's injured again and he's out for 2 tournaments and he goes back down to the bottom. Those are the things that you have to overcome before the carousel happens. So Takayasu at 25 can bounce back, but Takayasu at 30 is just going to keep being a pinball. Mitch says, looks like only 8 Waka Imonogashira and 13 Seiwanin. They are all usually from Juryo Rikishi. Seiwanin are usually long-tenured wrestlers, 20 plus years. That makes sense. They've got to have a role for those guys who basically don't get paid. Well, the Juryo guys do, but you got these guys who stay in there forever for whatever reasons, like maybe it's the community of it. They've got to have a role. They can't just be hanging out. Mitch says, I already read your comment, Tulio, that yes, you were talking about Shodai with One Trick Pony. Mitch says, it looks like at the moment there are open spots in both of these positions. Well, it'll be interesting to see if anybody takes them. Maybe Terutsuyoshi take one. Although if you have to be in Juryo. Spanky, the real bright spot for me in this basho was the young Ukrainian Isandame Awonishiki. 19-0 in his career so far, and he keeps making it look easy. That sounds very promising. I'll have to keep an eye on him. I never see matches that far down. I'll tell you, I've got a lot of salt in this tournament. I'm very salty about all the drama. I'm so tired of the bullying. I'm so tired of the stable scandals. I'm tired of the JSA. I'm even tired of Hakuho because he didn't have to do this. I'm tired of all of it. I want to watch sumo. I want to watch the fighters, and I want the fighters to be who they're supposed to be. And what I'm the most upset about is what everyone is doing to Hakuoho. Here is this bright, shining star with the potential to be so great. And everybody's screwing him. The JSA is, Hakuho is, the new coach who comes in to like fix things is, the media is, like everybody's just going to throw this young man off a curb and then forget about him. Like if he doesn't tough it out and figure this all out, they'll just be like, oh, no, I don't know what happened to him. That is so... I don't want to go on a rant. Let's just say I am very unhappy with how little people have concern for these young guys. Tulio says, the best I see for Shodai is maybe winning a Basho someday because we're right for him, but that's it. He could do it. I mean, Sumo's in such a state of chaos that, Shodai is, if Shodai decides to wake up, he's capable of winning a Yusho. So you never know. You could have some random July Yusho and Shodai is the winner. We've seen Tamawashi do it twice. Like as an older man too. Then you said things were right. I guess what you're saying is if the conditions are right, Shodai could win a Basho. Monster says probably Sukahara will be promoted, so I'm happy about lower divisions for now. Juryo hasn't been crazy exciting, although there were some good matches. Yeah, I peaked at Juryo. I wasn't super thrilled, which is why I gave you the highlights or just like what the Yusho is, but I hope Wakataka Kage just takes it and we hurry up and get him back, because if he's in good shape, which I really hope he is, then that makes this whole thing so much more interesting. Now you've got another guy fighting to get back to Ozeki and fighting for the Yokozuna spot. Somebody's going to take Yokozuna eventually. I can't wait to see who it is. Definitely throwing a party when somebody gets it. Mitch says, did anyone else see the Kake Nage that Aqua hit on Hakuoho? I think that's the match I saw, and I just... there might have been some broken furniture from that one, too. I was just like, no. Aqua? This is the kid, Hakuoho. This is the kid who stormed in like a boss with one shoulder and was almost in the Yusho race fighting top contenders. And he gets punked by Aqua. I'm like, this is a joke, man. I'm not happy. I am not happy. 2024 hasn't been a great year for sumo so far. No, it's been a disaster. I mean, January 1st starts with the giant earthquake. And everybody's all messed up, going into January because of that. And now we have, this Hakuho stuff in March. And it's like, come on. And I was hoping for some good news, and it's just a lot of bad crap. I mean, we have Terunofuji's probably on his way out. He might not even make it to May. And we still haven't found a Yokozuna. Kirishima's falling apart. And the stable with all this promise is falling apart and full of drama. We need to right the ship. Spanky says, both Shodai and Mitakeyumi are past their sell-by dates. They'll yo-yo up and down the Bansuke and the mid to upper Maegashira ranks, but that's it. That's where their rank will be, but both of them are capable of winning a surprise Yusho, depending on if we stay in this state of flux. If we get a Yokozuna, if we get things a little bit more stable, then they're out of it. But both guys are Ozeki, and both guys have won Yushos. Mitakeyumi's won 3. So they know how to do it. And the young guys, they haven't figured it out yet. Monster says, seriously though, it's hard to tell if he's physically diminished because of the surgery or if it's because of his life situation. Exactly. We have no idea. But let me put it to you this way. Let's say the physical healing didn't go quite the way he wanted. That has a lot to do with your life situation. When you have a major surgery and there's nothing but stress and chaos around you, which there would have been simply because of Hokuseiho, it's harder to recover. So I would say if he's physically 100%, then it's all the drama. But if he's not physically 100%, the drama is contributing to the lack of healing. Tulio said, I quit sumo when Asashoryu left. Now I'm really mad about this whole Hakuho thing. I am this close to rest from sumo for a while. I gotta tell you, if I wasn't doing a podcast and I wasn't just a Takakeisho fangirl, I would be very tempted. I'm not happy at all. And I'm trying very hard to stay positive and have fun with the sumo community and enjoy the storylines we have and the people we have. But man, it's a bitter pill. And I really hope I just hope they turn it around so I don't have to think about it anymore. It's hard. It's hard when you see it affect the quality of sumo. And then, like, the other thing is, I don't even want to hear about it when the tournament's over. Like, I want to see, Kotonowaka win the Yusho, going for Yokozuna, and I don't want to hear nothing else. I don't want to hear about your little plans and your little feuds and your nonsense, because it's all nonsense to me. Figure it out, solve the problem, and cut the drama. Because most people just want to watch guys fight, and they don't want all the crap. So, whatever. Shodai already has a Yusho back in 2020 as a Sekiwake to get to Ozeki. Then in Shodai fashion, had 3-2 and 10 in the next Basho. Yes, because it was Takakeisho, I believe. And then I had forgotten about Goedo, but it had been quite some time that an Ozeki won the Yusho. So Takakeisho won it at Sekiwake to become Ozeki, and then there was this drought. Then Takakeisho won it as an Ozeki, and it was like, yay, order is restored. Shodai never did it. I don't think Takayumi did either. I think his 3 Yusho were before Ozeki. Monster says, I feel you, Tulio. This is testing my patience as well. I think everybody's on edge about all of this. I really do. I don't think, unless you're like brand new to sumo, you're kind of ticked. Mitch says, I'm figuring it's a bit of column A and a bit of column B with Hakuho. That's probably the safe assumption. And Tulio is talking to Monster. Yes, man, this thing is a patience testing, all right. I really hope the JSA can read the room on this. I really hope that they turn the heat way down and they realize, like, this isn't worth it. I know we don't like the guy, but this is not worth it. Maybe it can still be salvaged. We're at a point right now where maybe it can be salvaged. But if they make the wrong move, it's just going to be a nightmare for everybody. Mitch says, it just tells me that he didn't have his head fully in that one. Aqua tries that damn Kakanage all the freaking time, so I'm sure everyone saw it coming, and he still let it happen. It's possible. I could be reading way too much into it, but I can't help myself. Because I was really shocked to see him lose to Aqua like that. Haba Gob says, Takakeisho makes Yokozuna, and with a single Shiko fixes all problems in sumo. Everyone suddenly stops bullying, and Hakuho becomes chairman. Then I wake up. Oh, if you haven't just said my own dreams there. I do want to write an alternate timeline where Takakeisho is Yokozuna, and he has no injuries. And Hakuho just stops doing the Hakuho thing. And the JSA just like puts their hands up and just intervenes when necessary. But also, like I said, Hakuho, come on, man. Like, do your job. Don't let the guy bully everybody for a year. Do your job. Those young guys respected you and expected you to protect them. If you do your job, this doesn't even happen. Monster. Tonight, Shiromaru could also get promoted back to Juryo, so he will factor significantly in how I'm feeling tomorrow. Oh, that would be nice. I miss Chiyomaru. Donkey says the JSA saw their opportunity and took it. They did. And that might be cutting off their nose to spite their face. And maybe, I think they are seeing it to some degree because of the backtracking I'm hearing about. They were going to dissolve the stable and separate all the wrestlers and separate Hakuho from Ishiura. Now I'm hearing, then it went to, well, they're going to put Hakuho in a stable and somebody's going to come with them. Now I hear Hakuho and Ishiura and all the wrestlers are just going to go into a stable temporarily. There's been a lot of backtracking. I'm holding on to that to say they must see that people are not thrilled. Mitch says, personally, while I'm kind of over the Hakuho thing, I'm not entirely sold on the idea that he's being super unfairly screwed. Both him and Issei Gahama got 2 ranked demotions and got dragged around. Well, let me put it to you this way. Hakuho was a fantastic wrestler, but that doesn't mean he's a fantastic stable master. And I think he got a little cocky thinking that he could run a stable just by training the guys, but then leaving a bunch of young, aggressive kids together alone. And then when they bring up to you, hey, things aren't good, and you ignore it for whatever your reasons are, you do have to be corrected on that. I don't know why that's not getting brought up. I know it's because the JSA, they tend to do things that anger everyone. And they don't like Hakuho. And they are not above being completely ridiculous. But Hakuho was not right in this situation. And something does need to happen. So, I just think everybody sucks. And they should just figure it out. And I don't want to hear about it. I want to hear at the end of the tournament about the guys who are fighting, and we just figured everything out and we solved all the problems so that I don't have to think about it. Issei Gahama trying to snatch up Hakuho's Rikishi by closing the stable is so slimy. I did shake my head and I'm like, it's a power game. There's politics. It's not for the faint of heart and hypocritical. Look, Issei Gahama is obviously a very competitive man. He has all the best talent right now. He has the most good talent in his stable of anybody else. Mitch, the only thing is the stable business, but this isn't the first time a master had lost a stable due to transgressions. I think this is going to look a lot like the Kisei stable thing from the early 2010s. A lot of people are comparing it to that. I don't know. I think Hakuho is a first-time, stable master, and while it is very scandalous, and he messed up, nobody can convince me otherwise. There might have been a way to handle this better. They're really, flexing, maybe not the best thing, especially because you'd be accused of bias. There's no way to avoid it. Bob Gob said, pretty sure Issei Gahama isn't the head of the Ichima. I'm pretty sure it's Asakayama, and that's where all the Hakuho's guys are going. Yes, but the original plan was Issei Gahama was going to take all of Hakuho's wrestlers, and they were going to send Hakuho somewhere else. This Asakayama thing is the newest development. Sumo is quite mental. I really don't expect any Miyagi-No guys to be on point mentally. Well, they're very loyal to him. And the other thing that, Chris Sumo was talking about, and then I saw on Twitter and things like that, is that Enho threatened to quit. And there's other wrestlers that would quit. And they don't want mass quitting. So, they really stepped in this one. They weren't thinking. Okay, Hakuho's very popular. You have to handle this in a way that makes sense. Whether it's right, wrong, I don't know. I don't want to know. I told you. But they didn't know what they were getting themselves into when they decided to lay down the hammer. With that said, come on. Hokuseiho's doing these disgusting things to people. Hakuho, care about it. Care about your wrestlers more than you care about winning. Mitch says, Issei Gahama isn't even going to get the Rikishi. Supposedly all the wrestlers and staff are going to Asakayama stable. I'll bet you that Miyagi-No stable is reopened. I think that's what's going to happen. I actually think he's going to get a slap on the wrist. Based on what's happening now, I think they're going to take him and the wrestlers in. Asakayama's going to be like his chaperone, but he's really going to just leave Hakuho alone. And if there's no problems, they reopen the stable and they try to pretend like nothing ever happened. That's what I think the plan was. Yes, Monster, Issei Gahama was lobbying to get them, and they shot it down for whatever the reason was. And I think that was good. I thought that was real sketchy, and I'm like, people are not going to go for that. Spanky says the JSA's big problem going into the spa show was the optics of the top 3 ranked guys were Mongolians. Yes, this is still an issue with the Japanese fans. The JSA needs a Japanese champion. The JSA needs to stop messing around and they can have a Japanese champion. I mean, for goodness sakes, they kicked Takanohana out. That whole situation was stupid too. Now, Takanohana, very similar to Hakuho in terms of his ambitions. And that was what was getting to a lot of guys. Takanohana was a mind that they should have kept. He could have been like Issei Gahama, and he had a lot of Japanese wrestlers. Granted, Takanoiwa, I believe, was the first Mongolian to come into sumo. So how ironic that the Mongolian thing started in Takanohana Bea, and then, it was the other Mongolians who took him out. That whole thing was just such a farce, man. Mitch, that was one of the optics, but it was rejected quite convincingly. So it would never really had a chance, probably. Mitch, one thing I will be beneficial about this whole thing is that moving to Asakayama is that Kaisei is one of the coaches, and I would hope to be a great influence on the Rikishi. And I believe Kaisei and Hakuho are quite friendly. So this could be a good thing. This is what I keep thinking. Hakuho really needs some stable masters to show him the ropes. So if they're fair to him, if this doesn't become a gang up and bully Hakuho, if everybody's fair to Hakuho, he could really learn from this and he could become a great stable master. This whole disaster could be righted if everybody just looks at the bigger picture and tries to really come to a compromise and realize the benefit of each other. But pride has to be cut down. Tempers have to be cut down. A lot of things have to happen for that. Tulio said he ignored it because his master ignored it, as many Oyakatas did, and due point is, what's so special about Hokuseiho and Hakuho? Nothing except the old Hakuho hate. To some degree, yes. I mean, so many stable masters have gotten away with this. So the fact that they went after Hakuho like it was like this unique thing, that's true. And there is Hakuho hate. That's true. But all I'm saying is Hokuseiho should have been stopped, regardless of what the precedent is. How JSA handles it, that's the issue, because JSA needs to look in the mirror, because they also made Hakuho who he is by allowing the bullying that probably went on in Hakuho's stable. But Hakuho does need to learn from this. He shouldn't ever allow it to happen again. So I'm not saying what the punishment should be, but I'm saying Hakuho is not innocent. When young guys come to you and say, this dude is torturing me, you should care. That's all I'm saying. You should care. You should try to stop it. And Hokuseiho wasn't that good of a wrestler. Quite frankly, I was thinking to myself, good riddance. You're going around bullying people because you suck. Work a little bit harder in training. You could have been great. Obviously, there was an attitude problem. Since I don't know Japanese and tabloids are to be tabloids, I'm just waiting to see the final decision. Is it too much to ask to watch some big dudes fight other big dudes? Yeah. Can we just cut it out and have people fight and just accept things for what they are? I know you didn't want Hakuho to be your guy, but he is. He is the one with all the records. So you have to live with him. And if you don't like him, too bad. And Hakuho, you're not too big to make a bad decision. It was a bad decision to ignore what Hokuseiho was doing, even if it wasn't for the punishment's sake, for the sake of your wrestlers. Hakuoho has to watch Hokuseiho doing this stuff and has to decide, should I tell him? Should I not tell him? It's not good for anybody to have that kind of cancer in your stable. So, I mean, I'm going to stick to that. I think Asakayama is the head of the Ichiman in name only. As long as Isagahama is still in the JSA, he will be in charge whether it's public or not. Well, that's a whole other story. Takanohana was too progressively minded for them. Hakuho was similarly ambitious, but I don't think he's pushing hard for radical reforms. Yeah, Takanohana was pretty radical. Hakuho was sort of mild in comparison, but he has the same desires, so he might just know how to push his way up. Whereas Takanohana was already rising to heights never before seen, doing things that no one had seen. It was just a whole other story with Takanohana, and they wanted to cut him down quick. They did not want him coming in and changing things. And that's a whole other topic. Asanoyama's situation probably even worse. I don't think he would have been Yokozuna, but if they wanted one, forcing him to lose rank was not smart. That was a terrible decision, I also say. What Asanoyama did was not the worst thing. It did not deserve being demoted so greatly to lose Ozeki when everybody else was doing stuff similar, if not worse. Bad move. He wasn't bullying anybody. He wasn't, I don't know. I will never agree with what happened with Asanoyama. And now he's lost his real chance to be who he could have been. Takanohana's situation was a lot more dragged out over time, and he didn't help himself in the slightest. Absolutely. Takanohana helped seal Takanohana's fate. Which is why I'm saying Hakuho needs to be smart right now, because he could go the same route as Takanohana and say, you know what, I'm just going to do what I want, say what I want. We're going to fight, and then the drama's too much, and next thing you know, you're out. I don't think Hakuho's that wild to make that kind of decision. Yeah, Takanohana seemed like he was determined to go out on a blaze of glory at the end of all that. Most certainly. That was it. Spanky, the JSA is like Dr. Frankenstein. They create the monster, and now they're trying to kill it. Tulio says, I don't expect you to believe me, but what Hakuho did is absolutely no different from what happens in every Heya today. I don't like it, and I never have, but I was never naive about it. Hakuho is scapegoating. I don't disagree with you. I'm not saying to you that I don't believe you. I think it's crap that it's going on in every stable. And I do think that they have hunted him down specifically. With that being said, it gets really tricky when parents are involved. I'll put it that way. He had parents that came to him and they posted it on Twitter. So even if you think, okay, it's not the smartest, or it's going on everywhere, so it's okay, or it's going on everywhere, they're only going after him. He needed to cut that down, because the minute somebody goes to the public, you're done for. So Hakuho could have jumped in there at any point. If you want to take all the humanity out of the decision, I really think Hakuho just wasn't there enough to be able to control it, which I understand. He has a wife and a family and lots of responsibilities and lots of engagements. Maybe some of this should be on Ishiura to keep an eye on it. I don't know, but if you know somebody's got a target on you, you should pay attention when the parents come to you. So, I'm not saying Hakuho did something worse than everybody else. That I am not saying. And yes, the JSA is hunting him down. And yes, it's crap. But, I don't know. Maybe I expected more from Hakuho. Maybe I watched a lot of interviews with him when he had like Gagamaru come in. And he was just saying stuff like, this is a great, this is a great stable. We all get along. Everybody's really nice. I'm not as hard on the guys as they were on to me. It just wasn't true. Why say all that stuff if it isn't true? I'm disappointed in Hakuho. I'm going to be honest. I'm disappointed. I watched interviews and I thought, wow, he's doing such a great job and he really cares about these guys and he's not going to let the things that other stables are doing happen in his stable. So to find out that he just ignored it, I am disappointed in him. I want him to be better than that. So there you go. That's how I feel about it. I don't know if I'm right or not. Whatever. Habab Gob. If Kotonowaka wins this tournament, he will have the weight of the entire Japanese populace on his shoulders. Yeah, let's see if he can handle that. He's going to have dad nagging him too. Mitch, I think the problem with Asanoyama being suspended was the duration only. Hit him with the 3 like the others, and he comes back, hi Jurio, and it's not as much of a big deal. Exactly. I punish him fine, but, he didn't come back for 3 years. He had all that time to get injured, his dad die, his coach die. Every bad thing happened to him in that period of time, and that sucks. I don't like it. Monster. Kotonowaka would probably be the betting favorite at this point, but it's hard to tell. It is hard to tell. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. We're really going to find out tomorrow. You know, it all comes down to that match. I think we'll have a good idea of what's going to happen. Like, if Kotonowaka just smokes Takerufuji, that's going to be interesting. I'll put it that way. Times are changing and it's great. Therefore, Sumo should follow, but all are guilty. Yeah, I understand. Monster says, it wasn't all that long ago. People stood up at the Tachi. I won't be predicting if the future like that. I don't know if I understand that comment. Spanky says, Asanoyama's punishment was twofold. 3 basho for breaking the rules and 3 basho for lying about it. Should have admitted it and begged 1,000 pardons. Sure. I mean, all of these things, there's 2 sides to it, right? I think the punishment's too harsh, but Asanoyama could have done something to make it better for himself, too. And then Tulio says, from his ethical frame, he did nothing wrong. And of all the points, I could see that. From all the points, I could see that. In particular, Hakuho really does believe that, like, being hard on people makes them strong. And that's what was done to him. That's what he did to Takekeisho. Takekeisho never recovered from that. I'm actually starting to wonder if Takekeisho received one of his lingering injuries from his battle session with Hakuho. So it is very possible that Hakuho believes that everything he did was fine. And that's the part where the JSA, that's the part where I get angry with them. They created him. And then they want to stomp in like the heroes that are going to fix everything. And it's like, this is your system. You did this. So if we're going to go back and really point fingers here, it's like, you guys should be willing to fall on the sword. You should be out there apologizing for what Hakuho's done. He's a brand new stable master. You should be out there saying, bowing and apologizing and saying, it's our fault we didn't train him properly. Like a stable master would do for a wrestler. Julio says, let me ask you something. Out of all the Oyakatas, how Hakuho ranks among those with less hours at the stable? Hey, I don't know the details of that. And I'm not trying to compare either. What I'm trying to say is what I think happened. I don't think Hakuho was sitting there watching Hokuseiho bully people. Some people have that theory. I don't think Hakuho would just allow that to happen. I think he turned a blind eye. And I think he had plenty of good excuse to do it because he's a very busy man, probably the busiest man in sumo. That's all I can say about that. Monster says, like from Hakuho's standpoint, it's hard to imagine living in a stable when you have a wife and children to think about. Yeah, there's no way he could live there. So keep in mind, Tulio, some of the things I'm saying, I'm not exactly saying like Hakuho is the worst person and everybody else gets a pass. I'm pointing out different things. I did think it would be horribly unfair for Hakuho to have to live there. I'm just wondering if, like I said, brand new to this whole stable system, has a certain way of thinking. The JSA, a lot of this should fall on their shoulders. A lot of this should fall on their shoulders. They're the ones who did not do the right thing for so many years and have created this problem. So if they're going to come out against Hakuho, they themselves should get on their knees and apologize as well and take responsibility for that. I haven't seen them do that. I really think, like, if you want to be upstanding, you should be just as willing to apologize as you're making Hakuho apologize. You should be apologizing to the fans for making us have to deal with this drama. It would never have occurred if they had nipped this violent stuff in the bud a long time ago. Like from Hakuho's, I just read that. Mitch, on a happier note, the Gyoji and shrimping has been pretty good this basho. I don't remember any Sashi Ichi guy so far this basho. I actually thought that too. I'm like, I don't have too many like problems with the calls this tournament. In fact, some of the ones that they didn't choose to Mono-e, when you go back and look at the replay, they got the call right. So I'm very happy about that. Tulio says him living outside had nothing to do with it. I was saying that as a defense of him. I'm saying some people think that Hakuho watched Hokuseiho bully people and said, that's fine. I don't think that happened. That's all I'm saying. George Reeves Jr., that's true. Do you really think Hakaku is at a stable 24/7 while being the head of the JSA? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And a lot of these guys don't even have enough wrestlers in their stable to have a bullying crisis because they're falling apart. They have like one top division guy and then a bunch of smaller recruits. Tulu says, I understand you. I'm just making a different argument. No problem. Yeah, no, I want you to understand that I understand exactly what you're saying, and I don't necessarily disagree at all. I like the counterpoint to what I'm saying. This isn't really an argument or debate. This is really just throwing all the different perspectives out there. So I want you to know that I understand what you are saying, and I don't necessarily disagree. I'm still feeling this whole thing out. I just have a deep bitterness in my core that I would like to go away by the JSA and Hakuho just making things right without a whole lot of fluff. It's sad, but it seems like Hakuho will have to choose between being an Oyakata or an ambassador for Sumo. That decision will come later, though. That would be a hard decision for him to have to make because I think he really likes both. Tulio says, I'm not mad or anything, nor confrontational. I didn't think you were either. You know, it's sometimes hard to make a passionate point without making it seem like, you know, like I didn't think you were. I'm just very passionate and kind of annoyed at the same time that I even have to talk about this because I just wish it never happened. Monster, I was waiting to talk a little bit more about visual novels sometime, but this stream got way too serious. I'll try to fit in somewhere in the next 2 days. LOL. Yes, that happened. Hakuho absolutely knew. Yeah. Well, I promise, guys. I promise I won't talk about this again tomorrow. We'll only talk about fun things tomorrow. We have not gotten together in 2 months, so it was inevitable that it would come up. But tomorrow we will focus only on cool, fun stuff like we usually do. Mitch, Hakaku also has like 3 other assistant coaches to manage the stable while he's doing other chairman stuff, which is what I think would have benefited Hakuho. He did have Ishiura. I don't remember his name now. But Ishiura was still wrestling, I think, like still technically on the roster like 6 months ago. So he didn't even have a chance to really set that up. But that's what's needed. Not even if you do the math, there's 100 stables, but only 60 spots in Juryo and top division. Most stables have like 3 Makushita guys, and that's it. Stables as successful as Isegahama are rare. Exactly. And Miyagi was poised to do the same thing. He was getting high-level recruits. So this breeds more opportunity for this sort of thing to happen. My bitterness rests solely on JSA hypocrites. Hakuho is sadly no different to punishment as all other Oyakatas. This is a situation that ultimately the JSA has to fix, regardless of who it is or how they go after them. It is their problem. It is their problem first. And they need to take responsibility for that. When they finally take responsibility for that, then you'll see change. Bob Gob, Tache had an interesting article on distributing Oyakata evenly based on numbers of wrestlers in each stable. Not a bad idea. Yeah, it is getting to a point where you have like an Oyakata with like one guy to train and he's getting up there in age, and you have all these other guys that could probably use a little bit more coaching that maybe aren't getting, like some of the younger guys that maybe aren't getting the same level of coaching because their stable is stacked. Mitch says they really need to shuffle coaches around. Some stables have like 7 coaches while others have 1 or 2. I agree, and I also think that would make a lot of the wrestlers more well-rounded to have different coaches show them different things. George says, agreed, Mitch. And Mitch says that Tachi article is absolutely wonderful. I'm going to check that out. I usually read Tachi, but I haven't been there since probably January, so I'm going to check that out. They have a great website. Absolutely great. All right, guys. I've been on for a very long time. Much longer than I expected. And we can blame the JSA for that. Hopefully you guys didn't mind that rant going on way too long. Hopefully you just had fun being here and chatting. So here's sort of the thing you can look forward to. Tomorrow is up in the air as far as the time. I've got a lot of stuff going on. And one of the things that's scheduled for me tomorrow has an undetermined end time. So I might be a little early. I'm not going to be late, but I might be early. The best thing I can do to let you guys know is go into the community tab and say, hey, I'm starting at 8:30. It wouldn't be any earlier than 8:30. That's all I can do. There's no other way for me to contact you guys. Thursday, like I said, I have to get up in the middle of the night to do the live commentary. So I'm definitely going to want to start probably closer to 8. And unless we get involved in like if it's all crazy and we're talking about all kinds of stuff, I probably will cut it a little shorter because I'll need to get some sleep. I don't know how I'm going to even function. So this will be a little different. Bear with me. Please keep an eye on the community tab so that you know. I will read your comment, Tulio, because I saw it come in, which is Hakuho does not need to learn to be an Oyakata. Understand, it's just punishment. I don't think they even think of it as any other way than punishment. For sure, they are trying to hammer down his pride, put him in his place, embarrass him. This is the way that they do things. It's way harder for them to do it to Hakuho, though, because he has allies in the media. He has allies all over the world. They are going to have a time of it if they think they're going to do just whatever they want. So it remains to be seen. Will they double down or will they back off? And that's the only thing I'm kind of interested in. Like, just give me a snippet. Oh, are they backing off? Cool. Don't want to know anything else. Are they hammering down? I want to know that. But do I want to know all the specific punishments? No, it would probably make me feel sick. So we're in a tentative situation here. Cool, don't get stressed. I'll try not to. Love, 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 love. Take care, dear. Why, thank you, Tulio. And to all of you guys, thank you for listening to my rant. Sometimes it happens. I never plan it. I'm like the Ura of 42 opinions. I just go with whatever happens. So tomorrow will be less serious for sure. I wish I could participate in some amateur sumo, but the closest club is like 3 hours away, and I don't care to drive that on a somewhat regular basis. That would be difficult, because you'd be doing 6 hours of driving. Hakuho is the guy that gives the journalists press tours. They were always going to be on his side. Yeah, they got unprecedented access to Hakuho's stable. And the dude is charming. I mean, come on. He really is good at what he does. He knows how to work it. So maybe he'll be okay in the end. That's all I'll say. I'm cautiously optimistic. And I hope that all my anxiety is completely just nonsense. George says, night, we'll see you all tomorrow. Yes, we'll plan the field trip tomorrow, Mitch. We didn't even get to discuss the bus this time. Good night, Hob Bob Gob. Thank you for participating. It's time for some sumo. Yeah, sumo's coming in just a few short hours. I'll be asleep, but I'll catch it in the morning. So good night, everyone. Thank you, and I will talk to you tomorrow somewhere between 8:30 and 9:15 start. Check the community tab. Peace.